you want to communicate between component file and template file, so how do you communicate between them? Let's talk about how to communicate between component file and template file. This is a template file and this is component file. So Angular provides the data binding concept. What is data binding? Data binding means communication between a template and its component. So Angular provides four types of data binding. So how can you communicate between DOM elements or component file? The first type is string interpolation. I have already showed you how to bind the property by using the string interpolation. You have learned how to bind the title. And there is a second way, property binding. I'll show you how to use property binding. If you have specified any property in the component file, you can bind that property into the template file. And the third way, you can use the event binding. Let's say if you have a button on the template file, and if you click on the button and you want to run this specific function on the component file, you can also do that by using the event binding. And finally, the last property is two-way data binding. If you update anything on the template file, then the changes will be rendered on the component file. If you update anything on the component, then the changes will be rendered on the template file. I'll show you how these property binding will be implemented in Angular. Let's talk about the property binding. First of all, you have already learned the string interpolation. Let me create a new hero object. Hero object inside the hero component.ts. Hero, and we have the name property. Let's say the name of the hero, Jane Doe. Now I would like to bind this name. Let's say I'm going to use h2, and I would like to bind the name hero.name. This is a string interpolation. Cool. You will see the name Jane Doe. Let me show you how to use the property binding. Let's say I have image URL property. I need to paste my image. You can copy any image. So how can you bind the property? Let's say I'm going to use the image tag. Image. I'm going to bind the source property. The syntax of property binding is square bracket, and here we need to write the property, and I would like to bind the image URL. Image URL. I need to save that. I did not save it. Now you will see this image here. So we have bound the image URL. You can also use the event binding. Let's say I'm going to create a new button. Let's say I would like to bind the click handler. Click. Here we need to specify the handler. Let's say click handler on click handler. So we need to create a new function here inside the template file, on click handler. Let's say it will accept the hero. Here I'm going to lock the hero. You can also pass arguments. Let me pass the argument here, hero. Or I'm going to use the alert here. Let's try to do it. Where is my button? I did not add the name. Click me. Cool. Here we have object. It has logged at object, but you can find the name property here. Let's say alert.hero.name. Let's do that. Cool. Now you got the name, Jane Doe. Let's talk about how to implement two-way data binding. I'm gonna implement two-way data binding on input tag. Let's say input. The syntax of two-way data binding is square brackets and parentheses and ng model. Here we need to specify the property name. Let's say I'm gonna bind with hero.name property. Name property from the hero object. I got the error. Cannot bind ng model since it's not a known property. Okay. Open the app module. We need to export the external module, which is forms module. So how can you import the forms module? Forms module will provide the ng model directive. So forms module from Angular forms module. Now I need to import it here. I'm going to save it. Let's try to test it. Now it looks good. You will see the JNDOs. Aha, that is the magic of two-way data binding. If I will update anything here, you will see the changes on the component file. Let's say hello world. It will change the hero name property. Now you will see the name is hello world. You can see that. Let me change a name it here. Let's say John Smith. If I click on this button, it will log the hero.name property. Now you will see the name is John Smith. So this is two-way data binding.